Hi, I'm Albert.
Hi Albert, I'm Chris.
So Chris, what's a Valkyrie?
Well, Valkyries are mythological beings and they have a number of functions, but the most important is to take the vanquished dead warriors back up to Valhalla.
Oh right, all right.
Yeah.
And what do they look like?
Well, it really depends on the opera production you're looking at or the comic book you're reading. They can take various forms, but usually they're women, and they ride on horses or they have wings.
Oh yeah.
The main thing is that they fly.
Chris, this is all from Norse mythology, right?
Right. That's right.
And that's kind of what you do. Is you know a bit about Norse mythology?
Well, I know a little bit about Wagner, and of course, you know Richard Wagner, the German composer.
Well, we use his Ride of the Valkyries as our theme song for this particular project.
Right, you're right. Along with all the other commercials, you know, it's a very popular piece of music.
Well, nothing says Vikings like the Ride of the Valkyrie.
No, he wrote 4 operas which comprise the Ring of the Nibelungen, which is so it's a massive thing, and it's one piece of music in the opera called the Valkyries.
So he uses a bit of Norse mythology in his work.
To say he uses a bit is a crass understatement.
Understatement. He uses a lot.
Yeah, he drew on lots of different texts, but the main text he drew on was a German medieval epic called the Nibelungenlied, which is based on these Norse sagas and myths.
Okay, so it's got Odin and Thor and people like that?
Yeah, well, it's got Odin, but he's not called Odin, he's called Wotan. Wotan. It's the German version because the Germans...
Still the same guy, though?
It's the same guy. They drew on the same stories.
Because we've been hearing some of the Viking stuff that we know about is from the Icelandic sagas. So things like the Nibelungen, is that written kind of about the same time as the Icelandic sagas?
No, the Icelandic sagas go back much further back into the dark ages.
Oh, right.
The Nibelungenlied, this German epic, was actually written in the late Middle Ages, so it's 13th century, around about that time. No one really knows exactly, but it's about that time. So it's quite modern, if you like, compared to the actual sagas, which are much further back.
So what did Richard Wagner do that was so great?
Well, Richard Wagner's probably famous for really revolutionising what we call opera. You look at most operas, they kind of alternate between singing very long arias, and then you often have a little bit of ballet and sort of this, what they call recitative, which is sort of a mixture between sung and spoken language.
Okay.
What Wagner did is he abolished that structure, and he tried to create works which were like dramas.
So they were big too, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean the
big orchestra,
big
sound,
big sound,
big audience,
very long.
Very long.
Yeah. Like the Götterdämmerung, which is the last of Ring der Nibelungen, that can run 4.5, 5 hours.
With toilet breaks.
Yeah.
So the Nibelung, Chris, that's about a ring, isn't it? Magical ring or something.
Yeah, that's right. The ring cycle, the 4 operas which comprise the Nibelungen, Ring der Nibelungen, to give it the German title, that's all based about the idea of a ring which has been stolen. It's at the bottom of the Rhine, and whoever controls that ring, of course, has tremendous power.
Okay. Gosh, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It rings a bell.
Is Lord of the Rings kind of based on similar sort of...
Well, obviously Tolkien, who was a professor of Old Icelandic, he knew the Icelandic sagas back to front.
Yes.
And so basically Wagner and Tolkien are drawing on the same stories, they're drawing on the same mythological stories. And in fact, Tolkien may also be drawing on a bit of Wagner. That's, of course, very hard to sort out.
Sure.
But basically they're both going back to the same Icelandic Norse sagas. Yep.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And of course, the important thing about the other important connection for this interview is that, as we know, Middle-earth is actually in New Zealand.
Yes, that's right. We know that. Yes,
yeah.
You have hobbits.
That's right. We didn't know until now where it was, but now we know.
What kind of person was he?
Well, Wagner was, I guess you could say, a revolutionary, both politically and artistically. And as quite a young man, when he was a conductor in Dresden, he got involved in the 1848 revolution. Disenchanted people rose up against the aristocracy, and he got exiled for his involvement. Yeah.
Did he? He was in trouble.
He was in big trouble. In fact, he had to flee to Switzerland and join all the other exiles there.
Wow, so he was a bit of an anti-authority rebel.
That's right. And then when he finally came back to Germany, and he actually came and settled in Munich, my hometown, and there he enlisted the aid of the famous King Ludwig II, the man who built all the famous fairy tale castles.
Yeah, he was a bit of a fantasy guy as well.
He was a fantasy guy. In fact, he was such a fantasy guy, he had Wagner operas performed just for him in his theatre.
Wow. So, Chris, would it be true to say that Richard Wagner was sort of the goth metal artist of his generation?
Well, that's probably stretching the parallel very far, but what you can definitely say is he was a man who divided opinion, and he certainly upset people as the goth metal people, artists upset people too. He divided, you're either for him or you're against him.
Yeah, I guess the other thing about goth metal is the way they use the same sort of Norse mythology and some of those sort of Norse-style art designs and things.
Yeah, I think Wagner was actually going back to the Norse mythology for a different reason. I think he was really trying to find something deeply mythologically Germanic. Okay. I suspect that the goth metal people go for it more for decorative reasons than
the pagan thing.
Yeah, of course they're trying to perhaps provoke people a little bit. I don't think Wagner was doing it to provoke people. He was really searching for something. He was searching for something very deep.
An identity.
Yeah.
So, Chris, did you see the Eurovision Song Contest?
Yes, I did.
What do you think about the Helsinki boys?
Well, I said thank God for Helsinki, because without those guys it would have been a total disaster, and the best band won.
Chris, who's your favourite Viking?
Well, I don't really have a favourite Viking. I see the Vikings as more as a sort of this collective band of marauding, plundering, raping people from the north. But I do of course have a favourite character from the Ring der Nibelungen, from the opera.
Oh,
and
that
of course is Siegfried, the hero. He's the hero. He's like me. He's tall. He's blonde.
Yes.
He's Germanic.
Yes.
And all the girls fall for him.
And what happens to him in the end? Does he get?
He gets, unfortunately, he doesn't survive.
He doesn't survive. But surely the Valkyries would take him.
They
off to
do.
Valhalla,
Yeah, they look after him, and then he might be having a very nice time out there.
I'm sure he is. Chris, thanks very much for talking to us today.
My pleasure.
Give me a cuddle.